All right, everyone, I'm Paul Greenberg. I'm the managing principal of the 56 group. I'm one of the outsiders that Jared Miller was talking about this morning. We have a kind of, you probably noticed it was a change in the actual schedule for this session, but a fascinating change. Today we're going to have two people on the stage here. One is Brent Leary, who is the managing principal of CRM Essentials, one of the thought leaders in the CRM world. And we have for Galvin, who is the director of business intelligence for the Los Angeles RAMS, which we can say. So what we're going to do is Brent, who is an ardent RAMS fan, by the way, is going to talk to Ford about what in fact it takes when it comes to thinking about data and strategy when you're actually moving from one city to another, which is obviously not an easy thing to be talking about. Now, we're going to open it up to any one of you who have questions for Ford or for Brent, but primarily for Ford. Throughout the session, there'll be mics around. I'm literally going to get off the stage and open the door for these guys to start talking. So, gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. Just to see, by way of raising hands, how many of you are familiar with Pat Hayden? Woo. All right, there's a couple of Pat Hayden fans here. I mentioned Pat Hayden because he was the very first jersey I got as a kid was Pat Hayden's quarterback jersey for the Los Angeles Rams. So that will tell you how deeply involved I am with the Rams, going way back to I was like 5 years old or something. So this is really cool to be up here with Ford and talk about the transition from St. Louis to Los Angeles, back to Los Angeles. So there has to be a lot of stuff going on with that. So why don't we just start from where are you today with your transition, and we'll kind of, maybe from a high level, then we'll dig into it a little bit.
Sure. So, and just to start with, going to the session, we want questions and stuff. I'm definitely going to try to answer everything I can, outline some of our strategy, but it is a very fluid process that we're going through right now. And part of the reason when Brent approached me, other than being a great Rams fan, about coming and talking, is I think it's a unique opportunity where normally when we do these kind of presentations, it's more of a case study. Here's what we did, here's the results, here's what we learned. But I think being able to come here and talk to you guys now, and then maybe in a couple of years follow up, and I can come back and tell you guys what we totally did wrong and what we did right. And next year. So yeah, we're trying to hook you into multiple years of seat. But so the timeline, if everyone's not familiar with what happened with our organization, is the ownership meeting in January went to a vote to relocate the St. Louis Rams to Los Angeles. Was approved for us to relocate. What that means is a lot of things have to happen very quickly. The league isn't going to pause or start late or wait for us to get settled. So essentially the lease on our buildings in St. Louis expired March 31st, which means we had to have the entire organization packed in moving vans and on its way across the country. Logistically, you start making to-do lists and prioritize them, but you're taking down a whole technology infrastructure and having to put it back up. We literally sent people with servers and carry-on items on planes to fly and land and hook them back up because no email, no communication, we had to work with the league to host that kind of stuff. And oh yeah, by the way, at the same time, we're doing deposit lists and we're trying to have customer service and do everything else that happens with that kind of organization. And then when you get set up, you got to turn everything on. It's not just going to be there waiting for you. So where we are now is through this whole transition and this opportunity as an organization, we are very much defining ourselves as a startup company. We are have to be extremely flexible, both in staffing and what we're doing, prioritize, and it's everybody helping out in every way that they can. We have people crawling under. We have folding tables out in a temporary facility. So we're actually in a old software programming office in northern Los Angeles. We will be there till hopefully September, August, and then we'll move into a spot that we'll stay in for the next 2 years as we look to build a training facility somewhere else. So we'll move again. In doing all of that, you're, again, taking everything down, moving to a new space, putting it back up. From a data standpoint with our CRM, because we were a split location in St. Louis, we had a good advantageous setup where all of our CRM, all of our databases were all in Rackspace, so in a cloud type environment. So once we got our systems up, we just had to kind of reconnect all the dots and get it going and get it back up and running. So that's where we are now. That's kind of where we'll be going with the location. But people forget or don't think about that perspective of, okay, great, we get to move. What does that mean? That means we actually have to ship everything. We have to go, set it back up. It's not, just think of your own personal infrastructures and everything that you have in your facilities that, it's not okay, we'll spin up one and we'll go to a new location and spin up another. It had to happen very, very quickly, and it did. So it was a mass undertaking. We have a great logistics team, an operations team that got all of us out to Los Angeles safe and sound and rather unscathed. So
when you think about it, you have a lot of legacy systems and legacy processes and all sorts of things that you had to uproot and truck out west.
Correct.
But what were some of the things, or were there any opportunities to introduce some new systems, some new maybe cloud-based systems that make it a little easier possibly at this point in time? With so much going on, it might be a little difficult, but were there any of those opportunities?
It allowed us to actually do the research to understand what those opportunities may be in the future by going through this process. You realize, oh man, it'd be nice if we had done X, Y, Z. Everything from just basic file share servers to that, you go to a fully cloud-based solution. Part of it too is going through the process. Los Angeles is a very large metropolitan area, and a lot of our staff has to become more flexible, nimble, and mobile. So we need to move towards that kind of stuff. I'd say right now it's not a priority to take advantage of those opportunities, just because training camp starts in 2 weeks. So we like I said, we don't have time. It's about being that startup mentality, everybody pulling together, and let's focus on what we can do. Our mantra that we're really hammering is, we don't have to be the first. Don't take on more than we need to, and if we're going to do something, make sure we do it right, because this is we're making a first impression with our new home. So we have to make sure we've strategically thought about how we're introducing things.
So in the midst of doing all that, you're also having a brand new stadium built.
Yes.
And we heard a little bit about what the Falcons are doing in the morning keynote. But so in the midst of your move, you got a new stadium and new experiences to look at creating. So how does that play into all this?
Well, it becomes a little bit of, we're not so concerned with those details. Yes, it's something that we're absolutely, it's always in the back of our minds that we're focused on. But this year we're playing at the Coliseum in downtown. We'll be there for the next 3 years. It's an older facility. It's, hasn't been renovated in several years, and then we're building a new facility. So it's, how do you manage that? And